in a packed Philadelphia debate hall. Donald Trump stood boastful and loud, proudly declaring himself a stable genius and mocking anyone who challenged him, while Barack Obama watched silently from just feet away. What began as Trump's confident ego trip exploded into a raw, high-stakes confrontation as Obama calmly dismantled Trump's claims, exposing the fragile insecurity behind the bluster. The atmosphere inside the packed debate hall in Philadelphia was electric and heavy at the same time. Thousands of people packed the seats, cameras rolling live across the country. Donald Trump stepped up to the podium first, chest out, that familiar confident grin spread across his face. He leaned into the microphone and said loud and clear, "Folks, let's get one thing straight right now. I am a very stable genius. I've always been one, and I always will be. Nobody thinks faster or sees things clearer than I do." The crowd erupted in applause, but it wasn't the full roar he usually got. Some clapped hard, some clapped because they always did, but others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Trump didn't seem to notice. He kept going, pointing at his own head like he was showing off a trophy. "I aced those cognitive tests. Doctors said I have incredible genes and perfect instincts. The best instincts. People try to keep up with me, but they can't. It's just how it is." More clapping came, but this time you could hear quiet murmurs underneath it. A few people whispering to each other, eyebrows raised. Trump kept smiling, feeding off the energy like always, but something in the room already felt off balance. Barack Obama sat quietly on the other side of the stage, legs crossed, hands resting calmly in his lap. He didn't move. He didn't interrupt. He just watched Trump with steady eyes, listening to every word. That silence from Obama was louder than any shout. It made the whole room feel heavier, like everyone was waiting for something big to break. Trump turned his head toward Obama and pointed straight at him. "You know, Barack, you went to Harvard, you gave all those fancy lectures, you sat in the Oval Office. So go ahead, prove it. Show us how smart you really are, because I'm standing here telling you I'm the one with the real brains. What have you got?" His voice had that sharp edge, daring Obama to fight back on his terms. But Obama stayed seated for a few more seconds, completely still. Then slowly he rose from his chair. No rush, no drama in his movements, just calm and deliberate. Obama stood tall at the microphone, his expression calm but serious. The bright lights above the stage made the moment feel even heavier. He looked directly at Trump for a second, then turned his gaze toward the thousands of people watching in the hall and on television across America. The room had gone completely silent. Then Obama spoke, his voice steady and clear, cutting through the tension like a knife. "Donald, genius isn't the word you shout when the lights are on and the crowd is cheering for you. Genius is what remains when the lights go off, the cameras stop rolling, and ordinary people have to live with the real consequences of your choices." Before Obama could continue, Trump jumped in fast, leaning aggressively over his podium. "I'm a very stable genius," he said loudly, his voice booming through the speakers. "I've said it many times and I'll say it again. I have the best brain, the sharpest mind. Everybody knows it. I took the cognitive tests and I passed them with flying colors. Nobody beats me on this stuff." Trump kept talking over Obama, trying to regain control. But Obama didn't get angry or raise his voice. He simply waited a moment, then looked straight at Trump with a calm stare. "You keep repeating that you're a stable genius, Donald, but stability isn't just a phrase you use to pat yourself on the back. Real stability means facing problems and fixing them, not just bragging about how smart you think you are while things get harder for everyone else." The audience shifted in their seats. Some Trump supporters looked uncomfortable while others nodded quietly. Obama had taken Trump's own favorite line and turned it against him in a way that felt smooth and natural. The trap was set and Trump could feel it. Obama continued, speaking directly to the people in the room. "Let me tell you about a real couple I heard from recently. They're retired, living in Ohio. They worked hard for 40 years, paid their taxes, raised their kids. Now they're in their late 70s and they're scared every month when the bills come. Their medicine for blood pressure and diabetes has gone up so much they have to decide whether to buy food or buy the pills that keep them alive. That's not some made-up story. That's happening to millions of American families right now because of decisions made in Washington. As Obama described the situation, the camera slowly panned across the audience. In the third row, an older woman in a blue sweater began wiping tears from her eyes. She nodded slowly, her shoulders shaking a little. A man next to her put his arm around her. You could see the emotion spreading through parts of the crowd. People were no longer just watching a political debate. They were thinking about their own parents, their own struggles with rising costs, and the weight of everyday life. Trump's face turned noticeably red. He gripped the sides of the podium tightly and pointed his finger sharply toward Obama. "This is all fake news," he shouted. "You're the fake news president, Barack. You always do this. Sad stories, fake numbers, trying to make me look bad. These are lies. My administration had the greatest economy, the best. People were doing fantastic before you and your friends came back with your excuses." His voice grew louder and more frustrated. The usual confident smile had disappeared, replaced by an angry glare. He kept pointing and shaking his head, clearly upset that the conversation had moved away from his intelligence claims and into real problems people faced. Obama remained composed, never raising his voice. He looked at Trump and delivered his response firmly. "You call everyone stupid, Donald. You call reporters stupid, you call scientists stupid, you call other leaders stupid, you call anyone who disagrees with you stupid, but while you're busy calling people names, the medicine prices are still going up, the rent is still too high, the grocery bills are still hurting families. So tell me, who's really failing the test here? The person calling names or the person trying to solve the problems?" A wave of reaction swept through the hall. Some people clapped loudly, others gasped, and a few Trump supporters sat in stunned silence. Trump had heard enough. His face was flushed with anger as he leaned forward and pointed aggressively at Obama. "You want to talk about real life? Let's talk about your past, Barack. You were just a community organizer." "That's right, a community organizer who never built anything. You did nothing in the Oval Office. 8 years, and what did we get? Nothing but apologies and weakness. I built real things. I made real deals. You just talked." His voice carried that sharp, mocking tone he often used on the campaign trail. He kept attacking, bringing up old stories about Obama's early career, trying to paint him as someone who never understood business or strength. The Trump supporters in the crowd clapped and cheered, but the rest of the room felt the shift. Personal attacks were Trump's comfort zone, and he was going all in to take back control. Obama stood quietly for a moment, letting Trump finish his rant. He didn't interrupt or look rattled. Instead, he waited until the noise died down, then spoke in that same calm, measured voice. "Donald, I'm not here to trade insults about the past. But since you brought it up, let's talk about something more recent." Obama nodded toward the large screen behind the stage. A short video clip began to play showing a former senior U.S. official who had worked in the White House. The man in the video looked straight into the camera and said, "I was in the room during that call." President Trump told the foreign leader one story, then later described the same call to the public in a completely different way. He fabricated key details to make himself look better. The clip was brief but powerful. The audience murmured as the screen went dark. Obama had just dropped real evidence in front of everyone, using Trump's own past words against him. Trump immediately lost his cool. His voice rose higher, almost shouting now, "I have a very high IQ. A very high IQ. I'm a genius. Everybody knows it. These are lies. Fake news again." He repeated himself louder each time, his hands gripping the podium tightly. "I have a very high IQ, the highest. Nobody has a higher IQ than me. This is all rigged." The more he repeated it, the more desperate it sounded. His usual swagger was cracking, and the audience could see the frustration building on his face. Sweat glistened under the bright lights as he kept hammering the same line over and over, trying to drown out what had just been shown. Obama looked at him directly and delivered his strongest line yet, his voice clear and cutting. Intelligence that only serves to call others idiots has not yet become wisdom, Donald. It has only become insecurity wearing a suit. The words landed hard. For a few seconds, the hall went completely silent. Then the room exploded. One section of the audience stood up and clapped loudly, cheering the sharp response. Another part sat stunned, eyes wide, not sure how to react. Obama took a slow breath and shifted the conversation even deeper. He looked out at the audience with genuine concern in his eyes. Let's talk about the real cost of decisions made from the top. Think about the teacher in Pennsylvania who spends her own money every month just to buy pencils, notebooks, and art supplies for her students because the school budget isn't enough. Or the veteran in Texas who served his country for 20 years and now waits 8 months for a doctor's appointment at the VA. And what about the parents across the Midwest who lie awake at night trying to figure out how to stretch their paycheck when grocery prices keep climbing higher every week? The hall grew quieter as people connected with the examples. Many nodded their heads and a few wiped their eyes. Obama wasn't just listing problems, he was making them feel personal to every family watching at home. Then came a powerful moment no one saw coming. Obama gestured toward the side of the stage. "Tonight we have someone here who wants to speak directly. Mike, would you please stand up?" A man in his mid-40s wearing a simple button-down shirt stood slowly. He was a single father from Michigan. His voice shook at first as he spoke into the microphone. "My name is Mike Thompson. After the last trade policies and tariffs, my small trucking business got crushed. I lost half my contracts. I had to tell my 2 boys we couldn't afford the house anymore. We moved into a small apartment. My oldest son started having nightmares because he heard me arguing with bill collectors on the phone. Every night I wonder if I failed them. This isn't politics to me. This is my family's life." His voice cracked with emotion and the room fell into a heavy hush. Trump tried to jump in immediately, raising his hand and shouting, "That's not my fault. Those are excuses." But Obama stepped forward and raised his hand firmly. "Let him finish, Donald. This man is speaking from real pain. The American people deserve to be heard tonight." Trump looked furious but stayed quiet for the moment. Mike finished with tears in his eyes. "I just want my kids to have a fair shot. That's all." Trump quickly tried to regain control. He puffed out his chest and started listing his achievements. "We had the greatest economy ever. Unemployment was at record lows. Stock market was booming. Factories were coming back. Everybody was winning under my leadership. These stories are sad, but they're not the full picture. I did more for the economy than anyone." Obama responded calmly but sharply, using Trump's own past words against him. "You said the economy was perfect, Donald. You said unemployment was the lowest ever. But your own Labor Department numbers showed that millions of people were working multiple low-paying jobs just to survive. You claimed factories were booming, yet many of those same factories closed after your trade wars raised costs for American workers. The numbers you love to brag about tell a different story when you look closer." The back and forth grew more intense. Obama then delivered a powerful closing line that cut through the noise. "A high IQ score doesn't pay the rent. A high IQ score doesn't bring back a son lost in a needless war. A high IQ score doesn't calm a frightened child when the leader of the free world is screaming on television." A long, heavy silence filled the entire hall. No one clapped right away. No one whispered. The camera slowly zoomed in on Trump's face. He swallowed hard, his Adam's apple moving visibly. His hands gripped the podium so tightly that his knuckles turned white. For several long seconds, he just stood there, breathing heavily, staring straight ahead. Trump finally snapped. The years of holding back his temper disappeared in a flash. He slammed his hand on the podium and pointed straight at Obama, his face twisted with rage. "You think you're better than me, Barack? You really think you're the only one who cares about this country? You stand up there acting all calm and superior like you never made mistakes. Give me a break. I built this nation stronger while you were busy apologizing for it." His voice echoed through the hall, loud and raw. He kept jabbing his finger in Obama's direction, breathing heavily, completely losing the cool composure he tried to show earlier. The audience stirred uncomfortably as the personal confrontation turned ugly right in front of them. Obama didn't match the anger. He stood still, looked Trump in the eyes, and answered in a low, steady voice that somehow carried more weight than all the shouting. "This isn't about me, Donald. This isn't about who's better or who's smarter. This is about whether your desperate need to be called a genius matters more than the American people's need to feel safe in their homes, stable in their jobs, and hopeful about their future." The words hit like a quiet hammer. Before Trump could respond, Obama nodded to the screen again. A new short video clip played, an old interview where Trump had made dramatic claims about the economy that later caused stock markets to swing wildly and scared investors. The clip showed Trump speaking confidently, but the results that followed were chaotic. When the video ended, Trump exploded. "That's fake, totally fake," Trump shouted, his voice cracking with fury. "I never said those things that way. You're doctoring videos now? This is rigged. I had the best economy, the greatest ever." The two men started arguing directly at each other across the stage, voices overlapping in a heated back and forth that felt more like a street fight than a presidential debate. Trump kept denying everything while Obama calmly pointed out the facts from the clip. The exchange grew louder and sharper until Obama raised his hand slightly and delivered the line that stopped Trump cold. "Real strength doesn't need applause every 5 seconds, Donald. Real strength shows up when the cameras stop rolling and the consequences begin." The hall erupted. Half the audience rose to their feet, clapping and cheering loudly. Obama took a step back from the podium and let the noise settle for a moment. His voice changed, becoming quieter but deeper, almost like he was sharing something personal with the entire country. At the end of the day, leadership isn't about how smart you say you are. It's not about winning arguments or getting the loudest cheers. Real leadership is about what kind of country you leave behind. It's about whether people feel safer, whether families can plan for tomorrow without fear, and whether the person in charge understands that power comes with heavy responsibility. He spoke slowly, letting every word sink in. The audience listened in complete focus. Even those who had been cheering for Trump earlier seemed to be thinking hard about what he was saying. Obama wasn't attacking anymore. He was painting a bigger picture about what true leadership should look like in America. Trump sensed the moment slipping away and made one last attempt to seize control. He straightened up, forced a big smile, and raised his voice dramatically. "I'm the one who made America great again. I'm the strong leader this country needs. Nobody else could have done what I did. I have the genius to fix everything." But Obama didn't respond with words. He simply stood there, looking directly at Trump in calm silence. The seconds ticked by. 10, 12, 15 full seconds of complete silence. The tension in the hall became almost unbearable. Trump's smile started to fade. He shifted his weight from one foot to the other, his eyes darting around the room, clearly uncomfortable under the weight of that quiet stare. Some people in the audience leaned forward, hearts racing. Others held their breath. The silence said more than any speech could. It exposed the difference between someone who needed constant validation and someone who was willing to let his record speak for itself. Finally, Obama leaned toward the microphone one last time and delivered the closing line that would be replayed for years. "Leadership is not how loudly you praise your own mind, Donald. It is how quietly the people sleep at night knowing you are watching over them." The words hung in the air. Then the room erupted. Many people stood up and clapped strongly. The applause rolled through the hall like thunder. Even some of Trump's supporters looked conflicted, a few clapping lightly while others sat motionless, staring ahead. The energy was powerful and emotional, as if the entire country had just witnessed something important. The camera slowly zoomed in on Trump's face. He was still trying to hold that familiar, confident smile, but it looked stiff and frozen now. His eyes looked tired. He swallowed hard and gripped the podium, but the usual fire was missing. As more people in the audience rose to their feet, the camera stayed on him, capturing every small movement. The slight twitch in his jaw, the way his shoulders dropped just a little. It was the image people would remember most from that night. In the days that followed, the moment spread like wildfire. Clips of the debate flooded social media. News channels replayed the silence and Obama's final words nonstop. Families talked about it at dinner tables. Friends argued in bars and living rooms. The debate wasn't just about politics anymore. It left behind one big, uncomfortable question that stayed with millions of Americans. What kind of intelligence should we trust with power? The kind that demands to be called genius, or the kind that actually makes people's lives better? That single night on stage had changed the conversation in ways no one could have predicted.